The Battle of Towton, fought on March 29, 1461, is remembered as the largest and bloodiest engagement of the Wars of the Roses, a series of brutal civil conflicts that engulfed England in the latter half of the 15th century. These wars were fought between the rival houses of Lancaster and York, both descended from King Edward III, over claims to the English throne. Towton marked not only a decisive victory for the Yorkists but also one of the most catastrophic and transformative events in medieval English history. The battle unfolded during a bitter snowstorm on Palm Sunday, symbolizing the grim and desperate struggle that defined this period. The origins of the Battle of Towton can be traced to the political and social turmoil of the mid-15th century. King Henry VI of the House of Lancaster was a weak and mentally unstable monarch, whose inability to govern effectively led to widespread discontent. His reliance on unpopular advisers and his inability to quell growing factional rivalries further eroded his authority. The House of York, led initially by Richard, Duke of York, asserted a stronger claim to the throne through his descent from Edward III's second surviving son, Lionel of Antwerp. This dynastic dispute, compounded by economic struggles and failed military campaigns in France, erupted into open warfare in 1455 with the Battle of St. Albans. Following years of intermittent battles and uneasy truces, the conflict intensified after the death of Richard, Duke of York, at the Battle of Wakefield in December 1460. His son, Edward, Earl of March, inherited both his claim and his cause, proving himself a charismatic and capable leader. Edward's early victories at Mortimer's Cross in February 1461 and the Second Battle of St. Albans later that month bolstered his reputation. By March, he had been proclaimed king in London as Edward IV, but his position remained precarious. The Lancastrians, led by Henry Beaufort, Duke of Somerset, and supported by Henry Percy, Earl of Northumberland, regrouped in the north, rallying their forces to challenge Edward's rule. Determined to crush this resistance, Edward marched north to confront them, leading to the climactic battle at Towton. The Battle of Towton took place on an elevated plateau near the village of Towton in North Yorkshire, a location chosen for its strategic advantage. It is estimated that between 50,000 and 75,000 men took part in the battle, making it one of the largest engagements ever fought on English soil. The Yorkist forces, though outnumbered, relied on superior tactics and discipline. Edward IV, supported by experienced commanders such as the Earl of Warwick, known as the Kingmaker, exploited both the weather and terrain to gain an advantage. The battle began with an exchange of arrows, as the Yorkist archers used the wind and snowfall to their benefit. The snowstorm blew directly into the faces of the Lancastrians, obscuring their vision and hampering their aim. Yorkist archers loosed volleys of arrows that inflicted severe casualties before the two sides clashed in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The fighting was ferocious and prolonged, with neither side willing to yield. Soldiers fought with swords, axes, and maces, and the frozen ground quickly became slick with blood, turning the battlefield into a chaotic and deadly arena. A turning point came when Yorkist reinforcements, led by the Duke of Norfolk, arrived and attacked the Lancastrian flank. This surprise maneuver shattered Lancastrian morale, causing their lines to collapse. The retreat turned into a rout as thousands of Lancastrian soldiers fled toward the River Cock, which had swollen with melting snow. Many drowned while attempting to cross, while others were hunted down and killed by pursuing Yorkist forces. The carnage continued for days as survivors were mercilessly cut down. The aftermath of the battle was devastating. Contemporary estimates suggested that as many as 28,000 men died, making it one of the bloodiest battles in English history. Mass graves unearthed in modern times have confirmed the scale of the slaughter, revealing evidence of gruesome injuries and desperate fighting. The Lancastrians were left shattered, and their leadership scattered. King Henry VI and his formidable queen, Margaret of Anjou, fled into exile in Scotland, leaving Edward IV firmly in control of the kingdom. Edward IV's victory at Towton secured his coronation and the establishment of the Yorkist dynasty. He was crowned in June 1461, marking the beginning of a new era, though the conflict between York and Lancaster would persist for another 2 decades. The victory also allowed Edward to consolidate his power, rewarding loyal supporters and eliminating remaining threats to his reign. The Battle of Towton left a lasting legacy, not only because of its scale and brutality but also because it demonstrated the destructive potential of civil war. It served as a stark reminder of the fragility of political stability and the costs of dynastic disputes. Today, the battlefield is preserved as a historic site, with memorials commemorating the thousands who died there. Archaeological excavations have uncovered weapons, armor, and human remains, shedding light on the violence and desperation of the battle. Towton stands as a symbol of the Wars of the Roses and a poignant testament to one of the most turbulent periods in English history.